All right, so let me share my screen, and I have my slides already. So for this presentation, I thought I would make it a little bit interactive. And what I'm going to do today is, if you have a smartphone laying around, you can use a smartphone, or if you can open a new tab on your browser, and we're going to do some live interactive polling as I present. So have your phone, or if you have a smartphone or any kind of phone, smartphone, not any other phone, because it has to be, I guess, has to be a smartphone. Now I'm thinking about it. I will give you an invitation to join our polling to this presentation. Let me open up my presentation here. So basically, my email address is Jose_Diaz, the number 1, at fitnyc.edu. This is the best way to get in contact with me. Also, I share an office with Antonia, she's my sidekick. We work together at the online learning department, so we're both in the same office. If eventually we ever go back to working at FIT, we are located in B508-1, and we're right next to the escalators, and we're not too far away from the CET. So if you can find the CET, you can find our office at B508-1. And here is a link to my slides. Let me actually copy this link and share it with you all so that you can follow along, and also you can refer to it later. And let me copy that for you. All right, copy link. And I'm going to put the link in the chat room so that feel free to go in there and follow along, or oh yes, so yeah, Daisy, hit us with the link. There we go. So Charles, so if you go ahead and click on that link, it should take you to my Google Slides that I'm presenting right now. Also, you can use it to refer back to any of the material that we're going to cover today. And let me just take a look, make sure people are in here. People are joining. Yep, I can see people are joining. Perfect, that worked fine. So there's no technological issues going on here. All right, so let me go back to present mode. All right. Okay, so now to be able to participate, you can go on your phone, or you can open a new tab on your computer. It might be easier to open up your phone because then you don't have to switch screens or switch tabs. If you go to pollev.com /Jose Diaz 110. So you can open up your favorite browser in your phone and type in that address, and as soon as I activate any of the polls, you'll be able to participate that way. If you want to do it the other way, you can also send me a text to the number here, 37607, using using Jose Diaz 110. I think I hear a question. Yes, I will do that right now. Let me thank you, Stacy. That's a great suggestion.
I just pasted it, Jose.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. Sure. I didn't think about that. There you go. So you can join through through that link, or if you want to participate using your phone, then you might just have to type it into your phone. All right. If anybody has any issues with, and by the way, this is another tool that you might want to use. It's Poll Everywhere. It's included in the EPIC toolkit that I will share with you later on when we get to that point. Okay, so that's pollev.com /Jose Diaz 110. And if you're joining by phone, you can just open up a browser on your phone and type in the address, or text Jose Diaz 110 to 37607. All right, so let's do a low stakes test to get your feet wet. Similarly, how you would do for your students, you introduce a technology early on, and you do it with low stakes, so that if anything goes wrong, with technology, you never know what can go wrong. This is a great opportunity to do something like using the technology in a low stakes environment. And so, as you can see, I have a word cloud. How are you feeling about teaching an online course? And so I'm seeing some great submissions here. I'm seeing mixed. I'm seeing great. I see need. I see good. Excited. That's good to hear. Excited. People are excited about teaching online. And so as people submit their answers, notice that in the word cloud, the word that's mostly being used is the word that is in big font. In this case, excited. So I can see multiple people have used the word excited as their answer. And so this is a fun way to get your students engaged. And Jeffrey talked about this earlier in how to get your students engaged. Now, remember, we're doing this synchronously, right? So when we're teaching online, it's going to be asynchronous, right? So students are going to be working on their own pace, it'll be self-paced learning. So just be mindful of the difference of synchronous teaching and asynchronous teaching. And so here we're getting a lot of great submissions. So it looks like you guys got the hang of using Poll Everywhere on your phone or on the computer. So this is looking great. I love this group so far. So most people here are excited. There's some people here have mixed feelings, so that's okay.
I can't find you, to be honest with you. So I just click on what Tamara said, the poll?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you click on that link, and then you'll see the prompt. How are you feeling about teaching an online course? Within that prompt, you should be able to type in your answer.
Okay.
And again, students nowadays are attached to their smartphones. So if you use technology to your advantage, and this is what we call chocolate broccoli, right? And so if you put a little bit of something that they like chocolate over the broccoli, it allows the students to then feel more, you're talking their language. If you use social media, there's a second nature to them, right? Or technology. So let me move on to the next slide. So here's the outline. Well, sorry, before I go forward, was everybody okay? Everyone was able to post in the poll before I move forward?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so this is the outline that we're going to cover today. Basically, the outline listed here is just the checklist, the certification checklist that you all will have to use to get certified to teach online. And so I just copied it exactly word for word, as you can see, and also by the letters. Letter A is course overview and information. B, design and layout. C, content and activities. D, interaction. E, course technology and tools. F, assessment and feedback. And let me show you what the certification checklist looks like if you haven't yet seen it. And it's going to look something like this. And this is done, this document lives, and by live, whenever I use the word lives, I'm talking about it's a living document in the cloud that anyone who has access or has been shared with can edit the document. And so here is basically the certification checklist that we will use to get you certified. And my whole presentation today is going to be based on this, all right? And so as you can see here, the letter A, you got course overview information. As you go down, B, design and layout, and so forth. And so here, the first column will get checked off. If this approves If this is good, we'll give this a yes. And then the next column is if an instructor, please add details for each item. If you have any notes that you want to make, you can put it on this column. And then we'll also have an action plan. This is where I would put my notes, letting you know, hey, you forgot to add your lecture video, or you forgot to add this or that. This is where I would put my comments here. The next thing I want to add about the checklist is just make sure that you don't download this. We don't want you to work on this document offline. We want you to work on this document in the Google Docs, in the cloud, because the reason why is because we are going to share this document with each one of you, right? And everyone has their own document with their name. Nobody else in the cohort, in this class, will see your document. Only I will, Tammy, and Antonia. So between the four of us, no one else will be able to see this document. And this is going to be a document that we will use to help you guide you through the process of developing your course. Okay? And so here, we will give the course section name, the instructor name, the date you were certified, and when the training was completed would go here, and then you sign in here at the bottom. Okay, any questions about the certification checklist before I move on? No? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So we'll cover the certification. So right, so like I said, it's a live Google document. It will be shared with you, Tammy, myself. Please don't work on it offline. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention is that to meet with me at least 3 weeks before the beginning of the semester to get your course certified. So when you and I meet, we can go over together and we will discuss what needs to be. Hopefully nothing needs to be changed, and you have a perfect, course, and then we move forward from there. But also, please feel free to either email me or meet with me one-on-one if you have any questions or you need help with developing your course. All right, so here we got another poll. So which topics beyond what I've already mentioned in the outline would you like to be covered during our workshop today? Is there anything specific that you want me to talk about, or Tammy or Antonia to jump in and say, and answer your question? If you have anything there other than the outline that I just mentioned, please feel free, go ahead. You can go back into the pollev.com/Jose Diaz 110, and you can, if you have anything that you want to add beyond the outline that I've mentioned there, please feel free and go ahead. I'll give it a few seconds, 10-15 seconds, for you to go ahead and add something that you want to be covered during our workshop today. Okay, here we go. So we have a question. So how long does the certification process take? So are you referring to the process of developing the course, or is it that the paperwork and getting to your course, or that question is because the certification process basically is going to be, you are going to come to, and Tammy, please jump in on this question if you want to answer that question on the process of the certification. And
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so after this class, the process is basically just finish up your online course and then work on your course. And it really is up to your own time schedule. I believe Jose is not taking any major vacation, right, Jose, in January?
No, I will be around for January, yes.
Yeah, so the actual certification meeting will probably take no more than an hour, but you'll come to that meeting with your checklist filled out and initialing every part of the checklist that's been done. And then really it's you and Jose looking at the course, you asking questions. Jose might make comments about, you might want to fix this or edit this, and you would put that on the checklist. And then after that meeting, it's generally a process of going back and forth. If there's any edits to be made, you might shoot Jose a quick email and say, oh, I changed this, I improved this, or something like that. But it tends to be pretty quick. And so it's really up to you when you want to get it certified. You can probably get it certified as early as this month, but also if you're teaching next semester, you want to make sure you're getting it done before the semester opens. So look at the start date of the semester, and 2 weeks before that is really the latest you want to certify it. Does that get to it? I'm sorry if I went on too long about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to move on and answer a couple of these questions here. Oh, I'm sorry, Tammy, was there somebody asking you?
No, I think that's it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to take a few of these questions because most of the questions I'm seeing here will get answered during the presentation. One question that I did see there was, what's the benefit of using Blackboard Gradebook over grading offline? I think that's a great question. There are many benefits of using the Blackboard Gradebook because a lot of that work is being done in the back end, you know, having Blackboard calculate the running total for you. And so as long as you have someone like Margaret, Jeffrey, or myself going over your gradebook, making sure that it's running properly, I would say go all the way with the Blackboard Gradebook. We're all big fans of it, but if you feel that it's still a little bit of a mystery to you and you want to take it slow, that's fine too. Again, you can always take things little by little, step by step. And if that's who you are and you prefer to get a hang of online teaching before you move on to the gradebook, that's fine too. I think there's one question for Tammy. I'll take one more here. Tammy, what happens if our class ends up not being offered in spring? Do we need to do anything else for fall?
Well, it's always a good idea to wrap up that online portion of the course now, just while everything's fresh in your mind. And then you will have to certify your course sometime before the fall semester. But you'll have until up to 2 weeks before the fall semester begins. So you really have a long stretch of time when you can be working on your course, building it, asking us questions, meeting with us if you like, finding the right tools. And you can certify it anytime. Just because you're not teaching it in the spring doesn't mean you can't certify it. Now, you want to balance that with the fact that it might not run. Sometimes courses, unfortunately, do get canceled, and you want to be pretty sure that your course will run in the fall if you're going to put all this extra work into building it. But know that you have the luxury of time if you're not teaching till the fall. It's always better to work on it right after training. So again, everything is fresh in your mind, but at least you have some time there.
Great. Here's another question on would like examples of how to use interactive video assessments tools like H5P. I am going to cover the tools later on, but remember for today's workshop, it's going to be I'm not going to go in depth into all the tools that we will cover, but you can always schedule an appointment with me one-on-one to cover the tools that you decide to use for your online course. And we also have many workshops that recorded that you can go into our website, and I will include the link to our website at the end of the presentation, where all our workshops are listed, and what kind of recording equipment is available to faculty to create recorded lectures. I am going to talk about videos today, so I'm going to wait on that. And I think there was one more before I move on. Can we see a sample course that has been certified? I can always show you examples when we meet one-to-one. I will also today there's going to be a section of hands-on where I'm going to show you some how we're going to build a unit together, and so I'm going to do that today. So that could probably answer this question, and I will talk about group work today and moving material from one course to another. If you're talking about course copy, that's going to be in Unit 3 that has already been opened today, and we do cover copying course from one semester over to the other, and you'll find that in Unit 3. All right, so these are great questions. So I'm going to move on in the interest of time because I know we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to try to move quick. Okay. So the course overview and information, right? This is going to be its own section in your Blackboard course. And we like to separate course information from the content, the course content. So in the course information section of your course, you want to have information, your welcome information, course description. You might want to have your syllabus, right? Grading policy, office hours, plagiarism, and plagiarism is a big one. And I like to always talk a little bit about plagiarism because faculty sometimes don't spend enough time talking to students about plagiarism. And a lot of students are sometimes confused about plagiarism. What is plagiarism? And so I recommend spending some time in the beginning of the beginning of your course, maybe the first time you meet or the second times, where you have information or a video describing and explaining what plagiarism is, what are the penalties. I sometimes suggest to faculty who have experienced plagiarism and they don't know how to stop it, I sometimes say to them, hey, maybe create a contract on the syllabus where you list all the penalties that will happen if you do plagiarize. And so they might have to sign that syllabus or that contract so that students understand that there's a penalty behind plagiarism. So that's something that you can do to fight against plagiarism. So very important, syllabus. Make sure you have a printable syllabus that students can actually print at home and have it on paper. Very important. Course schedule. Course schedule is going to be one of the most important things that you will need to do when you're teaching online. If there's anything that you need to learn today, I would highlight course schedule as one of the top priorities. Course schedule with due dates. And basically what I mean by this, and this might not fit with the way you teach face-to-face because again, this is a different animal. With face-to-face, sometimes teachers go along with the flow and they'll come up, Tuesday we'll do unit 2, we'll cover chapter 1 through 8, and things change as you go. But with online learning, I highly recommend that you set forth a schedule, right? And I'm not saying things don't happen, things change. Yes, things do change, but what happens with online learning is students have set schedules. Some students are working, some students are parents, and what I like to call the professional online students, and those are students who have taken online courses before. Usually what you can learn from, you can tell them apart is by how well they are, how their time management skills are, right? They have great time management skills. And so I call these professional online students, right? They're great. When you give them a schedule and you let them know when things are due, these are awesome students, Now you're also going to get students who have never taken online classes before and are horrible at time management skills. And this is why a course schedule is super important, right? And so, and this is a separate document that you can have. And so let me show you an example of a course schedule. And notice this is in Google Docs, right? So I can share this with anyone, and you can make it your own, make a copy of this. And so with this course schedule, you can see how I have each unit chunked. And we're going to talk a lot about chunking today, right? Chunking is going to be a word you'll hear from me very often. And notice how I also color-coded the units, right? And so students are going to go through this course schedule. They're going to see, okay, here I have to read, chapters from here to here, and September 28th is the due date, and this is how much points, if you are rewarding or you are grading these items, then you can put here, you'll be graded out of 100%. And then you move on. Notice now I'm moving on to Unit 1, Unit 2. Unit 1 is Caribbean music. We're going to talk about Bob Marley all the way to Daddy Yankee. And in Unit 1, we're going to cover the readings. You got to watch the video lecture. They're due, discussions are going to be due by Friday. And so what I call these are anchor dates. right? Either
Can you share this document or make it a little bigger? Sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you saw the chat.
Sure, I can make it bigger. And you can click on the link. I shared the slides with you. So basically, if you click on that course schedule, it will open up for you in a separate tab.
Oh goodness, thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. I'm only moving a little fast because I know there's a lot to cover, and it is going to be recorded, so you can always rewind and watch if you miss something. So this is an example of the course calendar, and this for me is gold. If I were an online student taking your course, I already know how to schedule how to schedule myself to be able to meet these deadlines, right? And the term I was using before are anchor dates, right? Anchor dates are very important with online learning. Remember, everything is asynchronous, but you still need anchor dates. For example, if you decide to do a discussion and you want an anchor date, because otherwise you're going to have one student submit and another student submit at the end of the semester, and it's not going to work. So from time to time, you're going to need anchor dates to bring it together. And for example, a discussion is a great example for anchor dates. So if you say post your initial post by Friday, respond to another, post your initial post by Wednesday, and reply to another student by Friday. So these are examples of anchor dates. Okay, any questions on the course schedule? Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I got to be careful because rubrics, I can go on forever, right? So rubrics is another thing, and I have it on bold for that same reason, because rubrics is a great way for you to be transparent with your students. They know how you're grading. It's also going to help you with grading the submissions. It will speed up your grading. I would say it would take half the time to grade a paper if you use rubrics. They do take some time to develop, but you don't have to build one from scratch. There are many out there that you can use as a template, and then you can bring it into Blackboard and edit it and customize it to your liking. So if you're going to teach, if you're going to have a lot of paper submissions, I recommend use a rubric. If you're going to use discussions, you can use a rubric. And so rubrics, oh, I hear a question. Go ahead. Is there a question?
I forgot to turn on my mic. Rubric question I have is, isn't that also part of Collaborate Ultra? That they have a rubric setup situation?
Well, not Collaborate, but Blackboard itself has a rubric that you can attach to any assignment within Blackboard. Not many people know that you can also attach a rubric to a column in the gradebook. So that is amazing, because if you decide to grade discussions, you can attach a rubric to, let's say, discussion unit 1, discussion unit 2, and attach a rubric for any of those columns in the gradebook. So let me move on from rubrics, because rubrics are amazing. I can't talk enough about them. I will get in trouble if I continue with rubrics. Rubrics will save you a lot of time. They can be a headache if you are building one from scratch in the beginning. Along with anything else you're building on right now, you're going to front load a lot of this work. But remember, moving forward, once you have everything built, you're just going to be fine-tuning your course. So right now, everything looks like a lot of work because you're building all this stuff. But later on, you'll notice that as your course is built and you're moving on to the next semester, you're basically copying the course over and just fine-tuning here and there. Okay? Tammy covered intellectual property, so I'm not going there. Google Drive. So Google Drive, I think Daisy mentioned earlier. Google Drive is going to be awesome for course information. And the reason why is that, again, remember the word I use, a living document. So let's say you're teaching the same course, and you have 4 sections of the same course, right? Now, if you have your course schedule, your syllabus, or office hours, and all these other documents on a Google folder or Google document, it lives in the cloud, which means that any moment's notice, you can make a change and edit anything inside this Google document, and it will automatically reflect on all your sections, and students can see those changes quickly. There is no downtime. Now, if you were to upload a PDF document of your course schedule to your course, and you make a mistake, or there's a date that you had to change something, you're going to have to go into Blackboard, take down that PDF, make a correction, and re-upload that PDF. And this is why Google Docs will create a living document that at all times, any changes will reflect immediately. Okay. The other thing I want to cover is intro video. And we had an assignment that we were creating our own videos, right? So another word I like to use when teaching online is humanize. You have to humanize your course, right? And so another way to humanize your course is to have an intro video of yourself, introducing who you are. This is who I am. This is what I teach. Here are some stories about myself. This is some information about who I am, what I do, what I do in the field. You know, where do I work? Maybe I'm working at Gap, and that might connect with some students, and you become relatable to them. So an intro video is a great way to humanize your course. And Jeffrey mentioned in his presentation about students feeling alone in an online world, right? And so we want to make sure that students are able to connect with each other, not only with each other, but not only to make camaraderie amongst themselves, but also to connect with you as a teacher, right? If I go to take a master class and I want to learn tennis from Serena Williams, and I don't get to see her face or her video, I feel that I paid all that money and I got ripped, you know, I got gypped because I don't get to see Serena and her backswing. So an intro video will be a nice addition to introduce yourself to your class and to humanize your course. Okay. Another thing, these are other lists, other things that should be included in your course information section. Learning outcomes are clearly stated. Make sure that your learning outcomes are clearly stated. Not only that, but make sure that your learning outcomes are your activities are closely aligned to your learning objectives. Many faculty, their department shares the learning objectives with them. I guess it differs in which department you're in. Some departments I've seen are more lenient, and you can just decide which learning objectives you have for your course. But also be mindful that you don't want to lose track of your learning objectives. I get excited when I'm building a course and I want to build technology. I want to put tools here and put this there and just make it fun and exciting, but don't lose track of your learning objectives. They should be closely aligned to all the activities in your course. Okay, a course overview. You might want to talk about what the course will cover from A to Z. Student navigation. You might want to have a video on how to use VoiceThread if that's something that you're going to implement into your course. If you're going to use Padlet, maybe have a little video there introducing students how to use Padlet, how to navigate through Blackboard. You might want to create your own screencast-o-matic video, right? And the other thing is instructor contact info is provided. How can they reach out to you? Make sure you include your email address, right? If they need to email you, they also it might be helpful to include your departmental email, right? If they need to reach out to someone else in your department. And if you have Fitable students, make sure you include Fitable, the Writing Studio, and all these other resources that are available to your students. Course structure. We recommend 7 units. Each unit consists of 2 weeks of content. Now, our goal is to have a course running that is so simple to use, straightforward, intuitive, that students should not have any problems navigating through your course. And so what we like to do is we use folders and we create units. and going back to chunking. So we're chunking a week of content into a folder, and within that folder, there's 2 weeks of content, right? In the unit folder, there's going to be 2 folders, and each folder there's going to be 1 week of content. And in that week of content, you're going to have a learning sequence. And the learning sequence is where you're going to have your, here's your icebreaker. Here is your lecture, read lectures from 1 to 3. Here is the video lecture you need to watch. Here is the discussion. And then here is the quiz. That is your learning sequence for that week. It's like a lesson plan for your face-to-face class. Same idea. When you come into your class, you have a lesson plan, and you already have it organized and designed from A to Z in chronological order. You want them to do this before they move on to that, and so forth. 4 weeks of content is due by certification. So you're responsible for 4 weeks of content, and 4 weeks of content equals 2 units. So for Unit 1 and Unit 2 is 4 weeks of content that will be required by the time that you meet with me to be certified. Here's a tip. So regarding the course schedule, a course schedule will paint a clear picture of the journey ahead. Online students develop time management skills based around their busy schedules. A course schedule is a tremendous help for online students, which will allow them to plan ahead for the high demands of online learning. And another reason why the course schedule is so important to students is because for online learning, once you fall behind, it's really hard for students to catch up, right? And so students who don't have time management skills can easily fall behind, and they will find themselves in trouble. All right, so now I'm going to show you a little bit of a demonstration of what we talked about, of a learning sequence and creating a unit. And so let me go into my Blackboard course, and let me show you a little bit of what I talked about today, just to describe to you what I am talking about. Okay, so here I am in my sandbox. I'm going into the content area of my course. Now, the course information section lives up here. Notice how it's separated from the content, right? So course information, when you go here, this is where you can put a link to your Google folder, where it includes all those documents that we mentioned, like a course schedule, policies regarding grading. All that belongs to course information should be separate from the content area of your course. Think of the content area as where all the content to your course, to the lessons are, and the course information is all the policies and documents. So here I can just create a web link, and let me see if I have a folder. Let me open up a quick folder in my Google Docs. And if I were to create a folder, and I can create a new folder here in my Google Drive, and I'll call it course information. Create that. There's my folder, and then I get a shareable link, right? So I want to share this. And I want to make sure that anyone with the link can access. A lot of people forget about doing that, so just make sure you make this anyone with the link can access this folder. Copy the link, click done, and go back into my course information section. Always remember the breadcrumbs. Blackboard always tells you where you are by looking at your breadcrumbs up here or over here. I create a web link. I can name this whatever I like. For now, just call this course information. Put the Google link to the folder right there. Click submit. And now I can easily drop any documents inside this folder, and students can click on it, and they will have access to whatever's inside this folder. Okay? Now, for the course schedule, I recommend create a shortcut, right? So a shortcut, because the course schedule is a document that students will access very often. So to create a shortcut, you can do a shortcut right here in the left-hand navigation by clicking on the little plus icon right here. And so let me create, let me grab the link to this course, the course schedule that I shared with you all. Here it is. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to create a shortcut on the left-hand navigation so that students can just click on course schedule and have access to the course schedule right away. And so I'm going to create a web link shortcut. And so here I'll call this course schedule, paste the link to that document, make sure you click available to users, and submit. Now, if I move this up and put it in prime real estate space in my course, in my navigation menu, now students can click here and have access to the course schedule right away. Okay? That's another tip. That's a good one. All right, so that's how you can create shortcuts within from a Google document to your Blackboard course. And now I just want to show you real quick. Let me go back. Now I want to show you how if I go into the content area, if I build a folder, a content folder, and if I call this Unit 1, right? And I put here, let's say we're going to cover our class's Caribbean music. I spelled Caribbean wrong. I can't spell Caribbean. And then, oops, I can't spell Caribbean right. Anyway, so here I can add an image, right? I can add an image for the cover of my folder, browse my computer, and let's say if I have anything here related I can use. Let's say something with the Caribbean. Here's a picture. And I have my alternative text, right? So I put here beach so that I don't get flagged for accessibility. I give it a title, call it beach. And under appearance, I can change the scale. Let's make it a little smaller. Let's make it 400. And I hit say insert. There we go. I have a picture of a nice little pig there in the beach. And what I want to add here is what's due, right? For every unit folder, I want to put actionable items that students can see and know what's due for that unit. So I'm going to underline that in bold, and then here I will just write read chapter 1 through 5, discussion post by Wednesday, and a quiz. Okay. So, okay, here we got our first unit. There's a nice picture. Here's what's due. And so before they even go into the folder, they already have an idea what needs to be done for this specific unit. I'm going to click to get inside this folder. Remember, we use units, not modules. And now here, I'm going to create another folder. So now we're creating a hierarchy, right? I don't recommend going no more than 2 levels down. You know, think about web design, and think about if you go to a website, it takes you 5, 6, 7 clicks to get somewhere. You don't want your students to go through that. You want to make everything accessible and very clear. So here I would do then week 1, we'll cover Bob Marley. Week 2, We'll cover Daddy Yankee. All right. This is now what I'm talking about, chunking. Remember we talked about chunking. We're chunking materials so it's not overwhelming. We're organizing the course so it's very easy for them to access. Okay, so I'm going to move on from here. So this is how we would practice chunking, course organization. We covered shortcuts and we covered the course schedule. Okay, let me go back. Okay, we covered that. 4 weeks of content is due by certification, course schedule. Okay, B, design and layout. So we covered a learning sequence should make sense and follows a similar format throughout the semester. Once you've built that learning sequence, students familiarize themselves with that learning sequence. Most likely you're going to recreate that same learning sequence every week. For example, you might have the first thing that you might want them to do is read chapters, do the readings, followed by discussion on the readings, followed by a video lecture, followed by a quiz, and so forth. So that's usually becomes your template for every week, for every learning sequence that goes into a week. So we did the to-do list, we covered chunking, and so also here's the example that I gave, which is an icebreaker, lecture, video, homework, some reading, and discussion. So in whatever order you decide to, whatever order that you feel works for you, that's your learning sequence. Now, another important thing is instructions, right? So when you are creating your course, you have to remember that your students you're not there, right? So they need clear and specific instructions, concise instructions that tells them, okay, here I need to, here, let's say I do an assignment, right? And let's call this homework. So in the homework, I like to break it up into steps, and we're not spoon feeding them here. The reason I like to do this is because you're not there, nobody's there, and students need instructions, right? So here you're going to say, choose an artist for your paper using the Google Doc provided. 2, write your paper using write your paper. Make sure to save the document as a PDF. Right? These are specific instructions. You will get penalized. You will lose. I hate to use negative words because we got to be careful how we phrase our. You will lose points, 5 points, if you don't submit the proper file type. Step 3, click on the assignment and upload your work. See, very clear step-by-step instructions broken down to, and always think about what can go wrong. And I recommend that as you're writing these instructions, you yourself go in using the evil eye, which is up here, one second, so that you can write these instructions clearly, because the way that I like to grade myself as an online professor is how many emails do I get from students with the same question, asking something about how do I submit my work? How do I do this? Is it a PDF? Is it a Word doc? The more you are descriptive with your instructions, the less emails you will get from your students asking these questions. Okay, so even though it seems like a lot of work up front, you're saving yourself tremendous amount of time going back and forth with students, answering the same question through emails. Okay, everybody got that? All right. Let me go back to my slides. Okay, so instructions are very important. This is something that faculty, when they go from face-to-face to online teaching, they realize, wait a second, I have to write all these instructions down. You were actually, in the face-to-face class, you were actually giving these instructions vocally. You were saying them. It's just that in this case, you're just writing them down and putting steps to them so that they can read the instructions step by step and do it themselves. Oh, I forgot to show you the Evo Eye is up here. You can now go in a student preview, and as you're writing your instructions, you are going through the whole process as a student, going into week 1, Bob Marley, going into the assignment, clicking on the homework assignment. And so step 1 could be easily click on Browse My Computer and locate your Word document or PDF and click Submit. Don't forget to click Submit. So that's how you will write your steps as you pretend to be in the student's shoes and go through the steps yourself. And that's why the student profile, the Evo Eye or the student preview is a very important tool for you to use. Okay, let's go back here. So we covered design and layout. I like to put this little image of a guy who's building a building and the foundations, and every learning sequence goes in chronological order as you're going from simple items to more difficult items in chronological order as you would if you would create a lesson plan in your face-to-face class. Okay, tip number 2, icebreakers. Now, a lot of times when I see icebreakers, you know, faculty take them as low stakes, which they are, but there's a lot of value that can be gained from icebreakers. If you can have students put information about themselves, what do they like, what's their major, who they want to be when they grow up, this is valuable information for you to build your student profile. Now, you can take a student profile, you can create a Padlet, have your students enter their information, create their posts, add their images. This will help you to identify your students. This will help you humanize the course, and this will help you create lesson hooks or lesson learning hooks, because now you know who your audience is. If I have a student in their icebreaker tell me about they're interested in working in Gap, and I've worked in Gap before, I'm going to make sure to include an anecdotal story about when I worked at Gap. Again, we want to humanize the experience. We want to connect with your students, and what better way to gather information from your students is through an icebreaker. And then you can export that Padlet into a PDF, archive it somewhere, and if you forget who Johnny is or Maria is, open up your student profile. There's a picture of Johnny and Maria, and now you know who they are and where they're going and what their ambitions are. Okay, what was I going to do here? Oh, I already did that. Okay. We're going to cover letter C, which is content and activities. So I'm a big, I like to call myself an evangelist of active learning, right? Active learning is basically any approach to student instruction which allows students, which all students are asked to engage in the learning process, right? So it's not like it's not like, I don't know if you guys seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where you have that teacher talking, and so active learning is the opposite of passive learning. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, this is what we're trying to avoid.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the the Great Depression, passed the the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or lowered raised tariffs.
So anyway, you guys get the idea. So what he's doing here is he's trying to engage the students. He's trying to be interactive, but he himself is answering his own questions, right? And not only that, but Jeffrey talked about this. How are you going to speak if you're going to do a video? Make sure you're animated. You are, you're talking and not a monotone voice. You got to sound passionate about what you're teaching, and interested in what you're in what you're teaching. So avoid the Ferris Bueller professor. Don't jump in and help students right away. I learned that myself as a parent. Whenever I see my kids struggling, I see them struggling to tie their shoes, or I see them struggling trying to put their shirt on or their jacket on. I was that parent that runs over to them and let me go put it on for you. It's working the brain is an exercise. The brain is a muscle. The more work they do, the stronger the brain gets. You don't want to jump in there and rescue them at all times. Okay. The structure is built for the rest of the course. So remember, I talked about the course schedule. Remember that I highly recommend that you put those dates in till the end of the course, right? So preferably, you will want to have all your course built out for the rest of the course. Now, it's not mandatory, but at least build out the structure. And by the structure is what I showed you earlier, is the folder structure, Unit 1, Unit 2, all the way through Unit 17. Build the structure, have it all ready for you so that when you get to that point, even though if you don't have the material ready when the course launches, at least you have the structure of the course available, even if it's hidden from your students, right? And that's another thing I want to cover real quick is if you're going to gate the units, and by gate it means you can release Unit 1 at a certain date, close it have a close date. And so what this does is let students know, because we are on a strict schedule, that Unit 2 opens at a certain time. And this is the amount of time you have to complete the material for the learning sequence in week 1 and week 2. And you have this amount of time to complete the work. Okay, so that's very important for you to think about. And remember, when you're building this course schedule, you're basically building an outline or a skeletal structure for your course. So this is why the course schedule also works for you as a map, getting you from Unit 1 all the way through the last unit of your course. All right, so now we're going to cover the big topic that everybody's interested in, is how am I going to present my content, right? How am I going to present my content? Presentation of content. There's so many ways we can present content. We got video. We can record our lecture videos. We can have, what like Jeffrey mentioned, you can use VoiceThread, right? VoiceThread, and I'm not sure if I had a VoiceThread in our training course, but VoiceThread is another great way for you to have lecture videos and also inject interactive discussions within the lecture, asynchronously, right? And that's a formative engagement opportunity for students. That's a form of engagement that you want to do, and that's one of the big reasons why VoiceThread is very popular, is that you can include questions within your presentation slides, and so you can gauge your students and conduct discussions within your lecture presentation, just like if it was in your face-to-face class. Assessments, I'm going to cover that, formative and summative. Presentation of content should include audio narration, very important. You don't, a lot of the times, and I see this very often, is where faculty will drop a 30+ slide deck with no audio, and students just go through the slides and they just have to figure it out on their own, right? And as a student myself taking a class, I would like to hear the professor, because this is the expert in the room. This is the person I paid to listen to learn from, and to get my knowledge from. So if, again, going back to my Serena Williams example, if I go to my master course mastercourse.com and a master class, whatever they're called, and I want to learn from Serena Williams, and I want to learn how to do that backswing, and I have some random person teaching me how to play tennis. I feel like, hey, where's Serena Williams, right? So again, make sure to make this course your own. All right, so here are some tools for lecture presentations. And these are some of the tools that are available to you from FIT. Some, like Kahoots, it's not covered by the FIT, but it's a free version. And it's pretty good, the free version. But everything else from Padlet, VoiceThread, Adobe Spark, Screencast-O-Matic, H5P, all those are covered within the FIT umbrella. And here's a nice table for you to look at, and kind of, if you're still trying to decide where you want to go, which tool you want to use, you know, if you want to do a video, Screencast-O-Matic, there you go. We have you covered. You can use your smartphone or you can use your laptop and record your own videos. If you feel more like a visual person and you want to have web pages, Adobe Spark might be the right tool for you. And I'll show you some examples of Adobe Spark. I mentioned VoiceThread. VoiceThread will allow you to have lecture presentations, class discussions, and assessments. And these are authentic assessments. And this is crucial because authentic assessments are different. Authentic assessments, you ask your students to tell you in their own words, how do I do CPR? How do I use a pivot table? How do I use a balance sheet? And so those are authentic assessments where students have to tell you an answer, explain to you how to do something. And you can do that with VoiceThread. You can also do that with Padlet. Padlet also allows your students to record their audio, video, and respond and use authentic assessments. H5P is another tool that we purchased, and basically it's like a Swiss knife, and it has tons of widgets that you can use to incorporate interactive activities within your course, such as quizzing. There are some great tools in H5P for modern language courses. If you want your students to, dictate or answer a question in the language that they are learning, there's a tool for that in H5P. So it's a fun way to bring in widgets which require zero coding, and you just customize it and import and just embed it into your Blackboard course. And one thing to notice is H5P also passes grades into your Blackboard gradebook. Not only that, but H5P also has a lot of auto-graded assignments. And these are great for formative assessments I'm going to cover next. Kahoots is a great way for you to gamify your course. And if we have time at the end of this presentation, I did build a Kahoot game that if we do have time, we can do it together. And it's a great way to gamify your course, make it fun. Okay, so here, now let me show you some examples. So Screencast-O-Matic, very important. If you are going to go with video presentations, do not upload your videos directly to Blackboard. Blackboard is not a hosting site. Blackboard is a learning management system. It can take videos, but we don't recommend it. We recommend uploading your video to either Vimeo or YouTube. Any of those hosting sites will work. Once your video is uploaded to Vimeo or YouTube, then you can embed your video into Blackboard. Okay? And remember about chunking. When you're doing your videos, keep your videos nice, short, and sweet. You don't want to go over 20, 30, 40 minutes on a video presentation. Chunking means that you have to cut it quick, cut it short, straight to the point. If you're doing videos on, what was our topic? Caribbean music, and I want to do a short lecture on Bob Marley, I'm going to cover the main points about Bob Marley, keep it within 5 to 7 minutes. Now, if I have to do a second lecture video, then I will do a second video and chunk it to topic. If I do Bob Marley's background video, then I do Bob Marley discography, and therefore you can split those videos and chunk them into separate videos. Okay? Adobe Spark. For those of you who don't know Adobe Spark, we at FIT have the Adobe Suite, and Adobe Spark is part of that Adobe Suite. Adobe Spark is three-pronged. It has lecture like websites that you can create, similar to Dreamweaver, Adobe Dreamweaver. You can also create videos on Adobe Spark, and you can also create graphics. So I always think of Adobe Spark as the little brother to Adobe Photoshop, the little brother to Adobe Dreamweaver, and the little brother to Adobe Premiere. And what I love about Adobe Spark is that there is no learning curve like it is on the Photoshop, Premiere, and Dreamweaver. It's no steep learning curve. You'll learn it right away. It's very easy to use. And so let me show you an example of a faculty member who uses Adobe Spark in her course, and then I'll show you a second example. So this was Jean Amato, who teaches Asian films, allowed me to use her lecture presentation using Adobe Spark. Notice that this is very visual and engaging. Notice how the content is also chunked. You know, she has areas where here she's covering some notable films. There are links, there are videos within the Adobe Spark that you can play them right there. So videos are there. And again, very visual. This is very much similar to a website. Students will scroll down, very clean. Great navigation. Notice the white space, the font, and it's an up and down approach from top to bottom. And let me show you another example of a use of Adobe Spark in a Latin American course. And this was also shared with me by Mario Valero, and he teaches the Caribbean and Revolution, unit number 5. So here's his lecture, Unit 5. So now he is, instead of creating a folder for Unit 5, he's encapsulating everything within those 2 weeks of content inside this Adobe Spark. So you see how visual this is. If I want to look at the picture, I can open it up and zoom in and look at it from, much more closely. I can continue to navigate. Mario and Jean are amazing people that are experienced with Adobe Spark. Also, Antonia Blatchford is another person you can reach out to, or myself. Any of us are willing to help you if you want to learn more about Adobe Spark. And it's a great way, very visual way to conduct your lecture presentations asynchronous. Okay? So these are great, very visual, great for modern history, art history, visual courses, and all those courses like that. Okay? And very easy to build. I mean, it's very simple to use. There's no steep learning curve. Okay, so we covered video, we covered Adobe Spark. I covered a little bit of VoiceThread. Now, let me show you a little bit about Padlet. And you guys were able to use Padlet in the course, so you got your feet wet with Padlet. And so here is a link to the Padlet that here's an example one that I use using the Canvas template. And in the interest, and then with going on with the topic of music, we have influencers and influences of soul. And the person in the middle is James Brown. And so we're connecting James Brown to all the artists that were influenced by James Brown, like Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Billy Joel. And so students here are making connections, right? So this is another great way to incorporate Padlet. You can also use Padlet to present your content in your course. So if you drop down your sequence, your learning sequence for week 1 in a Padlet, you can also use Padlet to organize your learning sequence. Okay, any questions so far? All right. Because I am moving a little quick, but I know we have a lot to cover. And oh, some examples, yes. Yeah, yes, I got to thank Jean and also Mario. They're always so kind to share their work. Some examples of videos. I don't have any permissions for videos, but I can always sit down with you and go over the best practices for recording yourself. And Jeffrey covered some of that in our video. For VoiceThread, I can also share some examples of VoiceThread and how to use VoiceThread for your lecture presentations or for discussion. Just remind me to either email me or remind me to share those information, some examples of VoiceThread or Padlet or Spark with you. It's not easy to always get permission. I know to get the permission to some of the content. And again, we always want to be careful of student. We don't want to have a FERPA issue where I share content with student information. So it's always difficult to share work when it has student information already in the examples. Okay, real quickly, I'm going to show you a Padlet example for creating content in Padlet. So here, I'm going to go into my Padlet account. I'm going to show you real quick on how to create a Padlet where you can have your learning sequence within Padlet. So here I'm choosing the timeline template. And for now, I'm just going to call this Unit 1. Keeping very broad. And I'm going to allow students to comment. And let me put reactions to like. Okay, and I don't like this brown. I want something a little bit more, little light. Let's pick a solid color. Mustard. This is okay. All right, so I'm ready to begin populating this, right? So if I want to have start with a lecture video, right? I can go into my YouTube channel, find a video, whatever I get first. Okay, squirrel steals a GoPro. That sounds interesting. All right, so I'm going to copy this link. And this is the first thing I want them to do in my learning sequence. I'm going to put the video in there. And we're moving from left to right, right? So that's the first thing I want them to do, is to watch this lecture video. Now I want them to, I have an article that I want them to read. Let's see, we were talking about Caribbean music. And we were saying Bob Marley. Right, and so let me see if I can grab an article here from the Caribbean Beat. I can copy this link. And I want them to go over this article before we go into the class discussion. So see how I'm building my learning sequence, right? And so here's my article. And then after that, I'm going to have a discussion maybe. And so this is how you would build going from left to right. So this will be an example where I can take this Padlet, go back into my Blackboard course. Let me copy the link for the Padlet. And I'll copy the link real quick, just to show you. Actually, let me copy the embed code so I can show you how this will look in our course that we are building. And so I'm going into the Bob Marley week. And here's, let's say this is my learning sequence for the week, Unit 1. I'm just going to embed this here. And now when the student goes into my content area of my course, they go to Unit 1, they go to Week 1, Bob Marley, and now they have everything in order from left to right. This will be my learning sequence for Week 1, for Unit 1, Week 1. And I can continue to add more and more items for them to do asynchronously. Okay? So that's another example how you can organize your course and the layout of your course using using technology and using these tools that we have at FIT. All right, so let's continue on. That was my little hands-on presentation. All right, so now that I gave you a quick overview of some of the possible tools that you can use to create your content presentation, let's take a quick poll and to see which tools you favor when you're going to get to the point of creating your lecture presentation. Now, keep in mind, Jeffrey also made a good point about using the technology, right? You have to make sure that you have to know that with technology, overdoing it with technology is dangerous. You don't want to use something that if you're not able to handle the baggage that comes with technology, maybe just keep it simple. Start off with simple. It's not required for you to use Padlet. It's not needed. What we're talking about here is making sure that you're able to get your presentations to your students in a way that is not just like a slide deck with no audio, right? We want a little something more than just slides without audio. And so I'm not saying you need to start, using 3, 4, 5 different tools. Again, the purposeful use of technology, you always got to go back to that. How am I using the tool? Not to use the tool just because I want my course to look fancy and just because everybody else is using Padlet or people are using a VoiceThread, So make sure that the tools that you're deciding to use are for a good reason. There's a purpose behind the tool and the technology that you're using. Okay, so it looks like videos wins here. So that's good to hear, right? So videos is going to be, a lot of people will probably be using Screencast-O-Matic to create their lecture videos. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into the tools today because I don't have the time to. Oh, look at that. We tied it up. Videos and Padlet are the top on the list. So I am available for one-on-one appointments where I can show you how to use these tools. And this is why I prefer that you guys meet with me before you build your course, because now if there is something that you built already now and you think about it like, wait a second, maybe I don't want to use just slides. I want to actually create a video with narration. And so now I have to just rethink or go back to the drawing table. All right, so interaction, and Jeffrey covered a lot on interaction, but this is what we're looking for in the checklist. We want to make sure that, by learning you will teach, by teaching you will learn. This is a Latin proverb. So it goes both ways, teacher to student, student to teacher. And so expectations for interactions in the discussions are clearly stated. And I said that a little bit earlier. You want to make sure you have deadlines, due dates, and you're very clear and upfront with your students as to when things are due, and if you are going to penalize them, make sure that it is there in the policies and also in the course folder itself before they open it, in the what's to do. If it says due by Friday, hey, mention there that if it's not due by Friday, you will lose 5 points, So take advantage of the course folder, that even before they go into the course folder, all the information of the what's due, the dates and everything, it's already listed before they go into the folder itself. All right. Now, very important, and Jeffrey hit a home run with this, is activities intended to build sense of class community, right? And so very important. You want, again, because these kids are never going to meet face to face, how do I bring them together so that collectively we can learn from each other? And that's something that we did in our online training course, where I had a Padlet and I asked everybody here, what is your vision for your online course? And we all contributed. People said, I want this for my course. This is what my vision for my course is. And I made it so that we all can see each other's work, so we learn from each other. Not only that, I might connect with somebody in my class, and we might be teaching the same course, or we might have similar interests, and we might connect that way. So we're creating a class community. Not only that, I also created a Padlet where you guys recorded your intro videos or an example of your lecture video. That was a Padlet that we made. Some people did it, some people didn't. Some people recorded their intro videos, which is, it's not an easy thing to do. You're putting yourself in front of a camera, recording yourself, and it's not easy because you're not in front of a classroom. You're going to lose all those skills, all those, I used to call them spider senses. You can't see them. You can't see those eyes rolling. You can't see the slouching of some students, the yawning of some students, or some students who are actively engaged. You're not going to see them, right? And this is what you're losing here, right? You don't get to see them, and so you're flying solo, or you're flying blindfoldly because you can't see your audience and what they're doing, right? And so it's a challenge, as we're doing right now with remote teaching. Some students never turn on their webcams, and so you're wondering, what are they doing? Who's there behind the camera? It might be their cat or their grandma, and so you don't know who's behind the camera, right? So we're trying to create a class community that encourages everyone to participate. And universal design approach, Jeffrey covered a little bit about it. We don't want the same students raising their hands every time, right? A Padlet will help you do this. A VoiceThread will help you do this. Everyone participates. Not the same 4 students every time raising their hands. Everyone has to participate. You have to add value to the conversation. I even put that in the assignment. I say, your grade heavily depends on the value that you add to this discussion. You're not getting rewarded just by posting. You're not getting rewarded by having the longest response or recording the longest video, recording the longest audio. You're earning the grade by adding value to the conversation. Okay, so that's my take. I know Jeffrey covered a lot on that part. And real quick, this is important. Students are encouraged to share resources and inject knowledge. And that's what we did in our Padlet. You all were able to add your knowledge into that Padlet. You were able to add your ideas, suggestions, and keeping it multimodal, right? A lot of faculty are stuck in writing essays. I've seen courses that have over 8 to 10 essays per semester throughout this whole semester, some even more. So sometimes I wonder, the professor is the most important piece of the puzzle. If that person burns out grading all these papers, what's going to happen to the lectures? Are they going to be, they're going to be too tired to keep it going throughout the semester? And so I also recommend doing video essays. Sometimes describing a piece of art, language could be limiting in describing certain things. Why not have students, especially FIT students who are very creative, visual thinkers, have them do a visual essay, a video essay, digital storytelling. That's what we call, have students tell the story in their own modality, in their own medium, whether it's a paper, whether it's a video, whether it's a artwork, a picture, photography, whatever it is that they can express their answer or their response to your question. Why not? All right. Blackboard groups. Blackboard groups is a great feature because, again, you can use Blackboard groups for online teaching. If you're going to split them into groups, I recommend using the Blackboard group feature. And you can do semester-long projects where students are divided into their own groups. And it's a great way to assign work to individual groups. If you have a different assignment for each group, you can do that with Blackboard groups. So I recommend to use it, and be careful not to confuse Blackboard groups with the breakout sessions and Collaborate. They're two different things. Okay, so, and by the way, you most likely won't be using web conferencing tools unless it's for office hours. That's the only time, like Tammy mentioned earlier, where there might be a synchronous aspect to online learning. Okay. Gamify your course. Another way to bring interaction to your course. Maybe you want to have a game. This current semester, I helped a professor in the textile department to create an escape room for her course. Students were split into groups. Students had to, and I can share that game with you all if you're interested. Students were split into groups, and they had to find color swatches that were hidden in 5 different rooms. When a student found a color swatch, they were asked certain questions from the midterm exam. So it served as a midterm review. So what we did was we gamified the midterm review to make it more fun for the students, right? Again, going back to what I said earlier with chocolate broccoli, right? And so we're adding a little bit of the fun to the broccoli. And so that's another way that you can do. And if I have time by the end of this workshop, I will show you the Kahoot game that I set up for you all if we have time at the end of this presentation. What did I write there? UDL offers, so Universal Design offers flexibility in the way students access the material, engage with it, and show what they know. And this is interesting because we have a lot of Asian students, and I hear this a lot from faculty, that some students from Asian students or it could be from any other ethnicity, that they don't want to participate or they don't want to challenge the professor. And so, or that it's hard for them to be able to participate and have to raise their hand. So using tools like Padlet and using tools like VoiceThread and opening it up in low stakes early in the course so that they get their feet wet and they know how to use the technology. And little by little, students get used to recording their voice, recording their responses, or recording their videos and getting in front of a camera. And again, it also starts with the professor creating a safe place for students to speak up, right? And it's also very important. You have to create that safe environment, right? And so that's on you to, if a student says something, just we talk together. We, if the student's going beyond or too far, you always can talk to the student on the side and say, well, you went a little too far in here and there. But again, always creating a safe place where everyone can share and inject knowledge. Real quick, so different types of discussions. So discussions is crucial with online learning. You want the students to participate. And these are some different types of ways that you can incorporate discussions into your online course. Always remember the anchor dates, because again, even though it's a synchronous online course, you still need anchor dates to pull it all together, right? Because if I am a student and my post is not in by Wednesday, it's going to definitely affect other students in the discussion, right? If I'm a late comer into the discussion and I wait till everybody posts their discussions and I wait too late, it just kind of, it just makes it better to have anchored dates so that we all come together at one point and go over the discussions together, or else it's going to be too scattered throughout the semester. And so Blackboard discussion is the most basic tool for discussions. It's already integrated into Blackboard, and most likely it's going to be text-based discussions, right? And it's going to be threaded discussions. And I know someone earlier mentioned that, or someone made a comment that you can have discussions set up so that you can't see everyone else's discussion until you make an initial post. The same can be done with VoiceThread and Padlet. So you can also control as to when the responses become available to students. As long as they create a response, then they can see everybody else's response, and you decide if that's something that you want to do or not. Padlet and VoiceThread are a little bit more visually engaging, where Padlet you can actually record a video, you can actually record screen capture, text, video, images, add links, everything under the map can be done with Padlet. VoiceThread also, you can record voice responses, video responses, and text. With VoiceThread, VoiceThread has a unique feature that allows you to decide how you want your students to respond. For example, if you want your students to only have voice responses, you can take away text and all the other options, and they are forced to use only audio. The other tools are not that flexible in that sense. So remember also that a tool like VoiceThread, if you go with VoiceThread, just remember to visit me or Jeffrey once you get to the end of the semester, because VoiceThread will require you, once you move over to the new semester, you're going to have to copy and relink or create new VoiceThreads because you're going to have all your previous students' responses from the old class, and you don't want to carry that over to the new semester. So keep that in mind with VoiceThread. A lot of people get surprised at the end of the semester, and they clone the course over to the new semester, and they realize they have all the posts from the previous semester. So be careful with that. I got 15 minutes. All right. So so these are examples of how you can create opportunities for all students to participate and add value to the conversation. Very important. I was going to do a hands on that, but I will skip that because actually, let me just take a quick look. So here's another example. Again, students injecting knowledge. This was the same example I showed you earlier. This time now is with Prince being the center of the attention, and students are all answering or inserting knowledge, and we as a group are learning from each other. Okay. That's another example of creating opportunities for students to inject knowledge into your online course. All right, here we got one more poll. Just want to make sure nobody's sleeping, so I want to keep you guys engaged. And so here's another question. So any ideas for interactive activities online? Anybody want to add some of their own ideas so that we can share with the group? Please feel free to go into either on your phone or on a separate tab and go to pollev.com/Jose Diaz 110. And feel free to add any of your own tricks and tips that you've used to engage your students, keep them interactive. Like what I mentioned earlier, you might have a voice thread, and within that lecture in your voice thread, you might incorporate a discussion question between slide 5 and 6. And yeah, the different ways for information to be added, different ways to keep your students engaged. And remember now, it's a little bit tougher, right? Because now a lot of this is happening asynchronously, and your students are having to interact on their own pace at their own time. And very important, like I mentioned earlier, is having those anchor dates to come together at some point to review either the discussions or the Padlet or the voice thread. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing the interaction here. Let me take a quick look. 1 second. Oops. Oops, I'm not sure why I'm not able to see the posts. But anyway, it's okay. We'll move forward. I'm running out of time anyway.
Jose, there's no place to put a post. They just show the great ideas, and when you check the little arrow, you go to the little arrow, it just moves you up and down.
Let me see. Activate it. Maybe I screwed up on this one. What about now? It's all right. We'll skip this one. We did cover a lot on the online training course. We did share a lot of ideas together. I'll skip this one for now. I am running short because I want to have time at the end for Q&A. So E, real quick, course technology and tools. Here, again, I talk about the purposeful use of technology. Technology should be strategically aligned to your learning objectives. If you click on this link, it will take you to my EPIC toolkit. So please feel free to click on that link, and it will take you to this Padlet where I have a lot of tools that you can feel free to check out. Also, we have faculty who've added their tips and ideas or suggestions on each of these tools. Please feel free to add your own suggestions in here as you go in there. And review it at your own pace, at your own time. And if there's anything, oh, by the way, there's one here that I really like, and it was shared to me by a faculty, I'm forgetting the name right now, I think it was Shelley Cohen, is an answer garden, where students plant a seed and watch it grow, a great way to engage students with a word cloud. This was really interesting. So there's a lot of fun ones here, Google Jamboard, Kahoot, Grammarly, Poll Everywhere, Bitmoji. So feel free to go through this, and if you have any questions, either feel free, you can reach out to me or Jeffrey or Antonia or Tammy. Okay. One more tip. So I did mention this earlier, but I just want to emphasize it again. Tip number 3: introduce technology early and with low stakes to get the students' feet wet. You want to get them on board, right? And if something goes wrong, it looks bad, especially when you're doing it in the first time. It's okay if it goes wrong later on. Students are amazing. I've had faculty tell me that when they're on right now remote teaching and they don't know how to use a Collaborate or WebEx or Google Meet, students have been amazing in helping faculty. So they understand. And I know a lot of faculty are afraid to look bad in front. I mean, we all do. You don't want something to go wrong as you're presenting, but it happens. And so, the most important thing is stay calm, and if it doesn't work, move on and do something else, right? So if you can, include video tutorials and where they can find help on how to use the tool. And I can give you a lot of resources. I can share with you video tutorials for your students on how to use Padlet, how to use VoiceThread, how to use Blackboard, or whatever tool that you want to use. I can help you embed those videos or video tutorials in your course. Another tip, number 4, on technology. And so we talked about this. So if you're a teacher and you are having exhibitions and you want, I think Lawrence was talking about this earlier before we started the workshop, is he was having trouble using the Dropbox assignment tool, because the Dropbox assignment tools, students had to have different versions of their submissions, and he wanted those submissions to go in right away. And Dropbox and the Dropbox assignment tool doesn't happen right away. It takes time for students to go back in, re-upload, and so Padlet would be a tool where if that's something that you want to see the iteration of the submission right away in real time, Padlet will work for you in that way. It's great for exhibitions, discussions, and homeworks. And it will create a sense of community. And we talked about digital storytelling, allowing students to create their own video stories and allowing them to tell their story in different modalities. All right. And just to really quickly see some examples that we did as a group, here we have our Padlet video assignment, right? That we all came into Padlet, and you can see Daisy's over here. I love this. Look at that background. Here we have Martin, Felix. Here we have some different videos. So again, this is creating a community, and we're all are able to see each other's work. Here is Sandra's work, right? And so this is another way that we use Padlet to inject knowledge and create a sense of a community. And the other example was the Bitmoji exercise. And I was amazed to see all these awesome Bitmojis. I know it was an optional assignment, but I can see a lot of people went beyond. And I mean, these are great. Looking at all of these right now, so this is great. I gotta say that I think this is Edward, right? I think this is Edward and Martin Felix here, and so Charles Yu. And I seen faculty in previous cohorts who had done this exercise, and they brought the Bitmoji over to their face-to-face classes, and they used the Bitmoji in their course or in communication with their students to express themselves. Okay. So those are two examples that we did together as a group. And let's see if this one works. So what is a favorite tool that you plan on using to teach online? Maybe we can, this is a word cloud, and maybe we can share together and see what some are tools that either you haven't seen yet in this presentation, or if you might have a tool that you want to share where everyone in this group. Oh, here we go. We got Miro. I've never heard of that one. Screencast-O-Matic. Yes, we talked a little bit about Screencast-O-Matic. Oh, I think you're saying Miro. Miro. Yes, Miro is similar to Padlet. Miro is another tool where you create a virtual board similar to Pinterest, and students can work in groups, and very visual tool. Pay, I'm not sure what that one is. Quizlet, that's a great one. Yes, Quizlet is another great tool. I've used it before to create quizzes, and if you want to bring them over to Blackboard, that's another great way to. Now keep in mind, so you have to be careful. Some of these tools are third-party vendors and not integrated into Blackboard, so you have to be careful with these third-party tools. All right, that's a good. So this is an example of a word cloud that we also talked about earlier. Padlet is there. This is another example of the plant a seed, the garden. Same idea. So you can plant a seed, and students create a word cloud, and you see the seed grow. In this case, you can see that the seed here is growing. Padlet is the one that's being posted the most, or people are suggesting Padlet the most here. So you see it getting bigger and bigger. So that's the seed growing into a flower. So that's another tool that you can use on your own. All right, let me see how much time I have. Okay, real quick, I'm going to cover assessments and feedback. We're almost done. This is the last thing. By learning, you will teach. By teaching, you will learn. We covered that. I said that earlier. But very important, formative assessments. So think of a chef, and you're learning how to cook, and you're shadowing the master chef. And so you're cooking a soup, and the master chef is hovering over and checking to see what you're doing, and he grabs a spoon and tastes the soup. And he tells you that your soup needs more salt. That's what formative assessment is. So formative assessments is an opportunity for you to look at your students' work and offer advice and point them to the right direction. I am a big fan of formative assessments. I recommend using formative assessments every week or every unit in your course. I like to use auto-graded formative assessments because, again, it's challenging to have to grade a lot of these formative assessments. Look for auto-graded quizzes like Blackboard, and it will auto-grade for you, and it will keep you. It will give you those red alerts, red flags when a student is going off track. a formative assessment is a great way to take short-term memory into long-term memory. If you allow some forgetting, students to forget and have the quiz at the end, or open it at a certain date, and then having students to take that quiz of material that happened during Unit 1 to reinforce the memory that was forgotten. So you're doing your best to fight forgetting, and formative assessment is a great way to keep your students tuned, or give them a tune-up by offering quizzes that are 1 week or 1 unit delayed, so that forgetting, and so when they're retrieving information, you're strengthening that connection in the memory from short-term to long-term memory. Big fan of formative assessment. Now, summative assessments is now you've completed the years and years of training to become a master chef, and you open your first restaurant, and you cooked your first soup, and now it's either live or die, right? And so the waiter brings up the soup, and you're peeking to see how the customer's reacting, and whether you get that thumbs up or the thumbs down. It's what it is, what it is. And that's where we get the midterms, and this is where we get the finals, and this is where we get the unit exams. If you do unit exams, up to you. So that's really the difference between formative assessments, summative assessments. Highly, highly recommend formative assessments. Blackboard is great for formative assessments, and H5P also will have great examples of formative assessments that will help you keep track of the direction where your students are going. And then that's when you, as a coach, step in and have to speak with those students when those red flags come up. There's also the retention tool on Blackboard that you can create rules in the retention, so that when these formative assessments go wrong, you quickly get alerted in the retention tool. And then the retention tool will alert you that, hey, Johnny had 2 consecutive quizzes where he has failed. And that's where the retention tool comes in. Remember, a lot of this is automated. The course practically is running on its own until you really have to jump in and answer emails, do discussions, office hours, and that's what you want to do. You want to make sure the course runs smoothly, and as you fine-tune the course from semester to semester, you'll notice less and less emails from your students. Examples of formative assessments are quizzes, polling, 1-minute paper, homework or classwork, talking or discussion, self-assessments, peer-to-peer, peer feedback, peer review. These all provide opportunity for the professor to provide support, and for the retention tool to alert you when a student is going on the wrong path. Remember, try to keep these auto-graded. A 1-minute paper is nice, but remember, a 1-minute paper you're going to have to grade. Whereas a quiz, when you're grading, you're in Unit 2 and you're grading material from Unit 1, just to keep that. And by the way, I recommend that you bring or copy questions over from previous semester. Keep it going. If your quiz 1 unit is 5 questions, your quiz 2 unit might have 7. You carry 2 over from Unit 1. So again, strengthening that short-term memory to long-term memory, so forgetting doesn't happen. So you'll notice that your formative assessments can become cumulative. And so you're including 5 new questions on the previous chapter, but you're also including 2 questions from the previous chapter. Summative assessments, end of chapter tests, midterms, final project or paper. I forgot to mention presentation, self-assessments, portfolio, peer feedback, peer review. A summative assessment will sum up a student's performance at a point in time. Very important, midterm and final. Letter F, this is the last one, assessments and feedback. And Jeffrey talked about this, so I won't go deep into this, because Jeffrey did say that the #1 response from students is that they don't get feedback from faculty. I have 2 links here. I'm not going to go into them. These are instructions that you can provide for your students on how students can access their grades. You'll be surprised to know that many students don't even know that they have to go to My Grades to find out that they got an 80 or 90, whatever they got. Not only that, a lot of students don't even know that they can click on the grade to go and review the exam and to see the feedback. Very, very important. All that is being lost if students don't know that they can go into the exam, see feedback, or go into the paper that they submitted and see the markup, see the annotations, see everything, all your wonderful feedback, or your audio recording. Remember, we covered that when Rob was asking, how can I leave audio feedback? You can also record your audio feedback if you are describing art in very descriptive, detailed descriptions. Audio might be the better way for you to quickly record a quick audio recording, letting students know. Not only that, remember we talked about humanizing your course. Students will learn your voice. They know who you are. They'll know the tone of your voice. They'll know that you're being strict, you sound tough, you sound this, you're being joke, you're this and that. Again, you're humanizing the course by leaving audio feedback. Real quick, so that's teacher feedback, but we also want student feedback, because remember, it's an iterative process. You're going to fine tune your course, even though you're front loading a lot of the work on the first time, and a lot of work is going to happen right now, but you're not going to have to do a lot of this work later on. You're going to be fine tuning the course, which is a lot less work. You're front loading a lot of the work now, but in long term, you're just going to clone your course and, you know, minor details here or there, what worked, what didn't work. This is why I suggest, and this was suggested to me again by Shelley Cohen, another great suggestion. She was part of our last cohort. She started doing start, stop, continue. What are ways, what is something that you want me to start doing as a teacher? What are things that you want me to stop doing? What is something that you want me to continue to do? So start, stop, continue can be something that you add to your course, a shortcut right here. I can add a start, stop, continue, create a shortcut, link it to either a Word document or a discussion board on Blackboard or a Padlet where students can go in and tell me what the start, stop, and continue. So I can create a little web link here. They can always access start, stop, continue at any moment during the semester. And this will give me valuable feedback from my students. So moving forward, I improve in my course. I improve the course. All right. Real quick, you can also do a survey. You know, I recommend beginning, middle, and end. I also recommend the same question, because you'll notice from the beginning to the middle to the end, students' responses will change. And that'll be a great A, B, and C test for you to compare students' responses in the beginning, how their responses change throughout the middle of the course until the end as you continue to improve your course. You can use what's it called, Monkey, one of those forms, any kind of forms, or even use a Google form. I recommend Google Form. Don't use the Blackboard survey tool. I don't like it at all. The survey reports look horrible. So Google Forms works great. Office hours, real quick. I know Jeffrey mentioned a little bit about this, and Tammy talked about office hours. But office hours, you can always use. I use Calendly. For those of you who know me, I love Calendly. Jeffrey mentioned it. Calendly, I can show you how to create your own account. A free account is what I have. It works great. You can use, if you're using WebEx as your office hours, WebEx also allows you to create office hours. If you're using Collaborate, you can also use Collaborate to do breakout sessions for your office hours. Feel free to meet with me or Antonio, Tammy, or Jeffrey to discuss office hours. Real quick, here's a tip for office hours. If you have multiple sections of the same course and you want students to meet in one room as opposed to having 4 different rooms for each section, I can show you how to create one room where office hours will occur for all 4 sections. And that will save you a lot of headache having to have 4 different rooms where students from different courses meet. And that'll be a headache for you to manage all 4 office hour rooms. I'm losing my voice.
Jose,
2 minutes.
Sorry, yeah, just I think people are needing to jump off to get onto other meetings, so just wanted to alert you, but go ahead.
Yeah, that was it. That was the last thing. Feedback. We talked about that, how to humanize student experience. And here are the links and resources. Here is the workshops that we have, that we do at the online learning department. Here's the link to create a one-on-one appointment. Here is our YouTube channel. And that's pretty much it for my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jose. That was such an excellent presentation. I think everybody enjoyed it a lot. If anybody's still there, I just wanted to mention the stipends real quickly. You will most likely get a stipend for completing the training. It's $500 if you are teaching a course that's already online and you're just moving in to teach it. And then it's $2,000 if the course is brand new and you're taking it through the curriculum process, and I'm working with you on that. And you're also training at the same time. It's $2,000 for that. So sorry if I didn't mention that earlier. I thought I mentioned it last time. But thank you all so much. Congratulations on making it through day 2, and we'll see you online, right?
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Take care.
Oh, okay, good. Shannon said I did mention it, so thank you, Shannon. All right, thank you, guys. Should we stop the recording? Or
Oh, by the way, maybe mention that this is all recorded, and the links we will share with everyone, I guess.
yeah, just so you know, this is being recorded. It will be posted, and you'll go back in, and there's a ton of resources in there. I just checked the resources. I don't know if we opened the resources yet, Antonia, but I think we can open them now.
Yeah, I'll check right now.
You'll see a folder of resources.